Hi, David Moore, the Equity Advantage, and once again, Coni Rathbone at Dunn, Carney, and we're back with another segment on opportunity zones. So I guess the next question, we get lots of calls about, do I need a facilitator to get involved? How do I exchange into an opportunity zone? So would you mind explaining how you get started?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Well, one thing I like to explain to people when I'm teaching, I teach classes all the time on opportunity zones, is that number one, the opportunity zone is just an overlay on existing law. So all of the LLC provisions that we've done for real estate developments are all applicable. All of the securities provisions that relate to the sale of securities are all applicable, and the opportunity zones just overlay it. The other thing is that it can be very, very simple, and it can be very, very complicated. My first opportunity zone project was for Sturgeon Development Partners.
So you started small, right?
Yeah, we started small with a $330 million opportunity fund, and we put that out last November. And that is big and complicated. It's got a lot of structuring. It is absolutely a security. But this applies equally as if you and I or you and Sheila form a 2-member limited liability company. You make an election in the LLC to be an opportunity fund. And you go and you take some capital gains from the sale of a stock, you go buy a piece of property in Bend in an opportunity zone, you build a duplex, you build one side pretty nice because your ultimate goal is to retire in Bend, and so you build one unit really nice because you're going to move in there. I don't know if I want to live next
to my tenant.
Okay, you're gonna build one unit nice,
knock.
And then you're going to build another unit.
Yes.
So I really like for people to see that this is not for wealthy developers. It is for people all over the United States that have capital gains. The key is creating the fund, the Qualified Opportunity Fund. Don't think of that like a big real estate fund. It can be a simple 2-member limited liability company.
So it can be a simple 2-person entity, or it can be what you did for
Vanessa.
Yeah.
She'll have hundreds of investors, millions and millions of dollars that she'll raise, and it can be complicated like that, or it can be very simple, and it can be a security or not a security.
So you mind
explaining that?
A little bit?
When whether something is or is not a security doesn't depend on what the product is. It depends on the manner in which it is sold. And so the easy way to think of a security is to think of the Howey test. You don't have to remember Howey test, but it's an investment of money into a common enterprise with the expectation of profit. We always have an expectation that we're going to make profit. But here's the key. Based solely or primarily on the efforts of others.
Yes.
So if you and I form a manager-managed LLC and somebody brings in, we've got a friend that puts in a bunch of money into this qualified opportunity zone, you and I are going to have sweat equity. We're just doing the activities. And they're going to bring $1 million in capital gain money.
Got it.
But they're going to rely on us for this development project to make their return. That is a security, even though it's just 3 people.
Yeah.
So it's not the number of people or the product, it's how it's sold, and if somebody is going to make money based on the efforts of someone else. If the same 3 people are forming a member-managed LLC and we're all participating in the work that it's going to take to make us money, I think of it as pulling the oar. We're all pulling the oar on the work. Then that's not a security because we're making money based on our own efforts.
Got it.
So that's the difference.
So I think that's something that's very important for people to understand, because I see that happen all the time. You see people get groups of people together and one person's taking care of everything. And I think a lot of times people rely on the good deal exemption, right?
Yes,
I mean,
that's
everything's
too often
great until it's not. So if you're putting these groups together, I really encourage you to talk good, competent. Don't pay somebody to learn on your behalf. Pay somebody that has the knowledge. I say that about lawyers, CPAs all the time. You want to pay somebody that's been doing this stuff, and don't look at it and say, gee, I wish I would have done this or that later. Really ask the questions when you get into it, because everybody goes in these things happy, and so often things don't maybe turn out
don't
that
pan
way.
out.
So,
And I want to explain that you joked about the good deal exemption. That is a joke. There is no good deal exemption. If it's a good deal, nobody is looking to sue anyone on the back end. But there are many exemptions from registration, some Oregon only, some federal, and it being a security is nothing to be afraid of unless you don't jump through the hoops required as a result of it being a security. Then it can come and bite you badly. But if you jump through the hoops and you provide the appropriate disclosure, whatever that is in the circumstances, then you're pretty good whether the deal fails or succeeds.
Definitely. Well, thank you. That's great advice. Don't leave. Once again, David Moore with Equity Advantage, Coni Rathbone with Dunn Carney. Thank you,
Thanks.
Connie.